Hey, this episode of Bass Freaks is brought to you by MXR Bass Innovations. MXR has been a leader in guitar effects for over 45 years. MXR Bass Innovations creates bass effects pedals from the ground up, each one specifically designed for bass players by bass players. Not repurposed guitar pedals, but their overdrive, fuzz, EQ, preamp DI, octave, distortion, compressor, or chorus, these tried and true stomp boxes are designed by Dunlop's award-winning team of bassists and engineers. Go to jimdunlop.com and check out MXR Bass Innovations for your bass effects. What's up, my friends? Welcome to Dunlop Presents Bass Freaks, the place for all of us bass freaks to chat it up, gain a little insight and inspiration, and have some fun. I'm your host, Josh Paul, and today we have Mr. Eric Smith. Round of applause. There he is. He's played with many people. Janet Jackson, Rihanna, right? Lalah Hathaway. He's a musical director. Got your own group. I mean, so many. Yes, sir. Too many to mention right now. How are you doing, man?
I'm blessed, man. No complaints whatsoever, man. I've been actually enjoying the pandemic, believe it or not, because, you know, I've been able to be home. I didn't realize how fast I was going, you know, like my whole career has just been like tour from one tour to the next without many dead spots. So it's actually been cool just to relax, spend time with my family, hang out with my dog, you know, all that stuff, man.
Man, that's same thing for me. And a lot of people I've been talking to lately that do what we do, it's sort of the same thing. It's like a double-edged sword. You know, so much quality time and you have time to be able to do things that you haven't had time to do.
Right.
And you kind of, at least for me, take a few things for granted. You know what I mean? Being out there, go all the time.
Absolutely.
Same thing for you?
Absolutely, man. It's like, you know, just that quality family time, you know, spending time with the wife, man, doing stuff at home, like, you know, home improvement stuff is not even a thing that, like, you know, you can't afford to do it, but it's like doing it yourself is just more of an appreciation. Like I painted my studio, you know what I mean? Little simple stuff like that, you know, did it myself. And it's like, it's just cool just being able to be handy and, you know, do stuff here. So that's been cool.
That's awesome. Let's talk about your history, man. Tell me about how you started.
Okay. Well, I started playing in church with my dad. He had a quartet group called the Soulful Sons of Zion, which I started on drums. I was playing drums at about 5 years old.
Awesome. Me too, man. Me too.
Okay. I feel like that gives most bass players an edge just from a pocket perspective, you know?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So those of you that don't play drums, start. Nah. But yeah, so I started on drums, and around 12 years old, I started getting interested in bass, but, you know, I wasn't playing yet. And I bought my first bass when I was in high school at 15 years old. And from there, I just started like just playing all the time, man. Like I was really into stuff like commission, you know, gospel stuff and the whinings, you know, more contemporary stuff. Even though I grew up playing quartet stuff with my dad, I just gravitated more towards the contemporary gospel stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't realize, you know, because like honestly playing the quartet stuff, I would be so bored, man, just like, because it's just so repetitive. But I didn't realize that it was giving me such a crazy foundation. You know what I mean? That I didn't get it till later in my career. It's like, okay, so when you can play a groove, the same thing over and over for five minutes and never get bored with it, and the longer you play it, it just gets thicker. You know what I mean? So, so I feel like that definitely helped, man. So
that's awesome. And that's actually a good point. I mean, if you can do it and make it feel good for that long, you know, that's a feat. And that's something that's, you know, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. Actually, it's like, I feel like anything else, like, I don't know, I always use this analogy. Like, I don't know if you ever made grits, you know?
I haven't, but I tried them for the first time very recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I loved them. Okay. Go ahead. That's another show.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. So basically, the process of making grits is super simple. So you boil water, right?
Yeah.
So while the water is boiling, you add the grits, but you don't add a lot of them. So you don't need to fill the water up until it's just white. You just add them. And so what happens is the longer you stir it, it's like they swell up. so it gets thicker. The longer you just keep stirring, you're not adding anything else. You're not adding no salt, no nothing, just like the grits in the water. But the longer you stir it, it's just like you see it getting thicker. And that's what I think about a groove. You know what I mean? It's like, so bass and drums can play the same thing like for 5 minutes, but you'll notice even if you're in the audience listening at it, it's just like after a while you're just like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you like everything around it might be turning, like, keys might do a crazy line, or horns, or the guitar, but in the bass and drums can be doing the most simple thing, like and add nothing, not even like do the same thing over and over again. So I think my roots gave me discipline. And, especially like, if you remember like James Brown stuff, man, it's like you would get fined if you moved.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I've heard those stories.
Yeah, man. So.
All right. That's awesome, man. So do you think that with what you do now, are you still using that sort of approach?
Absolutely. And I think one of the reasons is, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give people a whole bunch of nuggets in this one. So my first arena tour was in '94, right? Okay. So I had done some stuff before that. Like my
Who was that with?
Tevin Campbell.
Okay.
So Tevin Campbell did a tour with Babyface and Boyz II Men. And that's when in '94, the '90s, that was like Babyface, a big era where like everything he was doing was a hit basically. So, right. So, him and Boyz II Men, they co-headlined the tour, and Babyface bass player at the time, Reggie Hamilton, who he doesn't even know how much this one conversation just impacted me as a player. So him and the keyboard player, they basically came to me like, yo, man, you're incredibly talented, but you got to change your way of thinking. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, because, man, you're killing, but you never play the same thing twice. And it's so loud, like you're playing so loud on stage that they're turning you down in the house. And so it's almost like you're playing for the people on stage, and when you playing notes that are fast, it's not translating out there. It just sounds like mud. Right. So they're like, yo, man, learn how to play the record and make the record feel good. Work on your tone, and realize that less is more, because in arenas, bass doesn't translate.
Right.
So it's like, it's a difference. I mean, it's just broken down like there's a difference between club, church, theater, arena, stadium. You have to approach them all differently. So, and then one of the main things he told me is like, if you learn how to play, whatever you're doing in rehearsal, find something that works and play the same thing every night. Because what happens is you limit your mistakes because it's muscle memory. And then secondly, as musicians, sometimes we might play things that we think are great, but it throws the artist off because they never heard it before. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just try to find something that everybody's comfortable with and just beat it up every night, and like that'll sustain your career. And honestly, that was the best advice that I've ever received in my life.
That's amazing that they can approach you like that, and that you actually took it in.
Right. And see, what I think the difference between like the young musicians of this era, as opposed to like when I was that age, these musicians will take it as like, oh, you're hating, or you're just saying that because you can't play it. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And so I'm like, well, one of the reasons that you probably playing all that amazing stuff is because you're playing it at home.
Oh yeah.
You have a lot of time. You have a lot of time on your hands. So, but for the working musician, you want to find the formula that works. And to me, it's like, especially with the type of stuff we're doing pop music. So there's so many tracks going on anyway that a lot of times if you start overplaying, you're just going to cloud the mix.
Right.
As opposed to like, I want to be felt. I want to be felt and heard. But it's like a lot of times people. I mean, there's so many amazing bass players out here that I'm just like looking at on social media, just like, whoa, But unfortunately, unless you're doing a record, like, and you're doing like smooth jazz festivals, you can't implement that stuff in real situations.
Right.
In most cases. Now there are some MDs that just let the band go crazy, but if you look at the big scope of things, like the like even like the Adam Blackstones, of the world. So Adam's amazing, man. He's one of my favorite MDs to work with, and he's so bad as a bass player that most people forget just because you know him as an MD now. But he's an amazing bass player, bro. Like an amazing bass player. So, but I see the way that he MDs or whatever, and everybody has their own lane, you know. And so, but collectively, everybody's playing parts, and you have to know what your part is. And if you start stretching out, I mean, he's gonna call you out on it, like, yo, nah, bro, you gotta play the part. You know, we're a band. So
the first time somebody said that to you, aside from Reggie coming up to you, were you offended, or if somebody, you know, it sounds like you were taking constructive criticism very well and you used it to your advantage, which is what we should all try to do.
Absolutely.
But were there moments where you're like, oh, well, like you said, like, oh, you're just hating because you can't play it? Is there ever that part inside of you where you're like, you know what? No.
No, well, you know, I've never been the type of person that, you know, I get offended. I have thick skin. So, and I mean, you know, it's like anything else. You can tell if somebody's telling you something in love, or if you're just trying to be a jerk. You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, you can say one thing to your wife or whatever, and depending on how you say it, it's going to be how she takes it. You know, now you could be like, hey babe, and let's start taking walks together. You know, like when you get off work, let's just, you know, maybe get a couple miles in or whatever. Like, okay, babe, that could be like a bonding thing. Right. Or you could be like, babe, you know what? You're getting a little fluffy. So, you know what I mean? So she's going to take that a totally different way.
Are you calling me fat?
Absolutely. So
I hear you, man. It's all about communication.
Yeah.
And really knowing what the ultimate goal for each situation is.
Right.
So let's go back though to where you started, because you were playing with your dad.
Right.
And from there, where was your first pro gig?
Sheila E.
Woo!
Yeah, Sheila Escovedo, man. Bruh, that was
How old were you?
So wait. I want to say, wait a minute. 20 maybe?
Okay.
Yeah, was that 20? Somewhere away. So no, I was 21.
Right on.
Yeah, I was 21, man. So she had an audition in LA, which was like a cattle call, man. So people thought that it's like, hey man, you need to go audition. I'm like, man, I can't play with Sheila. You know, I mean, I didn't think that I was that good, because I've always been the type of bass player that never arrogant, never overconfident, you know, just like, I'm like, you think I could do that gig? It's like, bro, you'll kill that gig. I'm like, all right, so go down to the audition. And as soon as I get there, you know, she was like, I heard so much about you, you know, can't wait to hear you. But I'm looking around, and when I tell you every bass player that I've ever seen on like Arsenio Hall, David Letterman, Jay Leno, it's like late night TV, all these dudes are there for the audition. I'm just like, I might as well go home. You know what I mean? I'm like,
were you nervous?
That's an understatement.
Okay.
That's an understatement. I mean, it's like,
how did you deal with that at that moment?
Okay, so what happened was, so Chucky Booker was actually helping Sheila run her audition. And so Chucky knew about me through like my closest friend outside of my brother, Derek Allen from Sacramento, DOA, like the funkiest dude on the planet. I mean, Derek is so bad on bass, man. And so Chucky knew about me through Derek. So me and my brother go to the audition, and we're outside listening to a few people play, and I'm just like, oh my God, man, it's like, I'm never getting this. So Chucky comes out during one of their breaks. He was like, yo, man, I can't wait to hear you. And my brother's like, man, this dude's scared, man. He want to go home. And Chucky's like, man, what you talking about for what? And I was like, man, these dudes are here killing, you know? Then he goes, all right, what are you hearing from out here? I was like, just a bunch of dudes killing. He said, all right, do you hear anybody playing pocket? I was like, no. He said, okay, come in and do that. You'll be fine.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay. So that kind of like eased some of my nerves. So when they finally called me, I mean, I had listened to no BS, bro, a good 20 plus bass players already.
Oh, wow. It
was a real cattle call, like all day thing.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go in here and just make the stuff feel good. And so I was so nervous though, like I was shaking trying to plug my bass in. So I had to hold my hand, literally.
I've
And
been there, man.
so now I'm having an argument with myself, like, okay, do I gotta just like vibe out super hard and do all this, rocking and moving, or is the plan most important? So I'm like, okay, let me try to get a happy medium or whatever. So I just started vibing off her. And I noticed that initially, as soon as I started playing, like her face changed. She was like, but I'm just playing pocket at that point. And so she'll come by and say, like, give me something. And then I'll just throw something in there, maybe like a bar alone and get out. And I saw that she was, every time I did something, she was like, woo, start like giving me the stink face. Yeah. So then I relaxed. I was like, okay, cool. And so it literally got to a point where she would let any of the bass players come in. She would just start like, okay, I want this keyboard player, this guitar player, and this drummer, but Eric, I want you to stay, So every time that happened, I was just like, okay, I'm about to get this gig, you know what I mean? And so I started getting confident at that point. And so, but I just went there playing church, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the song that she had everybody playing was Love Bazaar. So, okay. And that song literally is 2 notes. Goes from G to E. Boom, 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 with like drops here and there. But I'm talking about, I'm hearing cats in there just going crazy. So when I knew I had the gig, about maybe like the 4th band that she let me play with, I pulled out my pick, so I'm like, I'm gonna try something different. So instead of just staying on the G, I just did a bass line like boom, 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 I played that. So literally when I started playing that, the whole room, it was like somebody hit a home run. It's like, because I changed the other hair, it was like, woo! I was like, nice. Okay. And so then she said, give me some. And I just did a Prince lick off the record. And right back to the bass line. Yeah. And so that's literally how I got that gig.
That's awesome, man. I bet that was the best feeling in the world at that moment. When you're at the end of that audition, just feeling extremely confident in yourself and you're playing, and proud moment. That's very cool.
Yeah, and crying like a baby at the same time. Just like so happy, like just like wow, man. When I started playing professionally was never on my radar. It just happened. Okay, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not one of those bass players that's just like, man, I want to get good so I can go on tour. I was totally fine playing at church. Totally cool just playing with my family. But when people instilled in me like, yo, man, you can actually do it. That's when audition, and from that gig is where all the networking happened. Like people see you on that, just like, yo, man, hey, what are you doing between this time and this time? Okay. Hey, man, can I get your number? I got a situation. And so literally that's my whole career, just like that.
So for people that are listening and bass players that are trying to get out there and do their thing and tour with people and do what you do and what I do, how do you approach networking, and how would you recommend people do it?
Well, I think, especially right now, social media is your best friend, and so, like I said earlier, you see a lot of people posting videos with, just showing like a lot of information, like people just like doing a lot of noodling. To me, that's going to show people that you're talented, but it's not going to show MDs that you know how to play a song. You know what I mean? So I think as much as you do all that other stuff, I'm not discouraging anybody from, showing people that you have that kind of facility. But I think it's just as important as you play songs that you're playing the song, just making it feel good. You know what I mean? It's like, and whatever that means, like make songs feel good and just like keep posting, whatever your favorite songs, even play stuff that you don't like, stuff that you might not even normally play. You know what I mean? It's like, just say if you're a pop player, you like, yo, man, I'm about to get on this Metallica joint. You know what I mean? And so, because you never know who's going to see that and like, yo, hey, how do I get in touch with this kid? He's dope. You know what I mean? So I think that's important, man. It's like, and even stuff like, the main thing I say a lot of times people will like, just say if you have your regular club gig right at home. So, and it can be in Mobile, Alabama, and there could be 7 people there. Man, you have to act like one of those people can change your life. You know what I mean? So to me, you can't ever get into a situation where you get bored and you don't respect the music anymore. You just start going for blood. And so, matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you this other story. Swear to God, true story. So I'm out with Rihanna at this point in my career, you know, but I had a break in between my schedules, so I got called for this gig at home. So I'll never forget, man. We're playing D'Angelo's version of "Feel Like Making Love," right? And so we got to the vamp where you just stand on the E. And so, man, we vibing on this part for a good 10 minutes. So I literally have my eyes closed. I'm just like, right? And so, you know, how you can kind of feel like somebody's like looking at you or whatever. Hey, do I open my eyes? Michelle Digiuchello is standing right next to me, just like,
oh,
I had no idea she was even there, bro.
Wow.
Like, she's just like next to me, just vibing. And so, do we take a break? And she's just like, oh my God, like, I would love to work with you or whatever. It's like, you know, can we exchange information or whatever? So we talked a few times, but it didn't work out just because my schedule wouldn't allow it, because at the time I'm literally on retainer with Rihanna. So I couldn't really take any outside work. But the moral of that story is, just say if I'm a bass player that really needed some work and I didn't have any, and just say if I was in there going for blood, she would have left. You know what I mean? But the fact that I was playing something that she dug, she wanted to get to work with me. And, you know, so I look at that story like, yo, man, that could be anybody. You know what I mean? And so you have to always remember that somebody can be there that you're not even tripping off of. You know?
Yeah.
So, and that's how I ended up doing a Garth Brooks session too, because Garth was at a show with Justin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, so
I didn't know you did that. That's very cool.
Yeah, I came to Nashville for like 3 days.
Right on.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, me and JT's drummer, Brian Fraser Moore.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about approach then. Like, from doing, say, the Rihanna gig to going to do a Garth Brooks session. It's obviously not the same genre of music.
Right.
But how do you change your approach, or do you change your approach, or do you go in as you?
Well, see, that's a good question. But what Garth wanted at the time, he's like, I'm trying to merge pop with country. So like he literally had songs that he just sung into his phone, you know, that had no music or whatever. So he wanted to create something like, okay, let's see what we come up with. So me and Brian would just go in and start, you know, vibing, and then they built around it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
it was actually creative. That's
absolutely
cool. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like the whole thing was a writing session. So
right on.
So I didn't really feel like I had to change hats, if you will. You know what I mean? So because he called us.
Would you though?
Absolutely.
Say you're going in just to play, you know, 1/5 on in a country tune or something.
I'm going to do exactly what the music calls for. No.
Yes. Okay.
I don't have a % of an ego.
Got you.
And again, I would never get bored.
Right.
Never. Like I did a gig, Tony Rich Project, long time ago. And I thank God for that gig, because that gig was so dumbed down. I mean, I'm talking about, there are songs that just like boom, ba-boom, 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 whole song.
Okay.
And you got to play those notes and make them feel good.
How do you keep it fresh?
Because I love music, and I'm going to look in the crowd and somebody's going to vibe with me, just playing that simple stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pick somebody out in the crowd that's like, hey, kaboom, 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 kaboom. Hey, man, it's like, how could you get bored when you're doing something that you love to do?
Man, that is a great attitude and a great outlook.
That's awesome. I mean, man, look at it like this, bro. Like I'm born and raised in Oakland, and there's people that are from Oakland that have never left Oakland. I'm talking about like never left the city, let alone the state. Hey man, we've been able to travel the world playing music, uplifting people, man. It's like, and I always look at stuff like, dude, there's somebody in the crowd that maybe had thoughts of killing themselves. You know what I mean? And so maybe something that happened during that show, they felt some kind of love that made them want to keep living. Or, you know, especially with all the racism stuff that's going on in the world, you know, you have people of all nationalities just enjoying, you know, I mean, it's just like a conversation of love that's happening or whatever. So nothing, all that other BS that you felt when you were outside, it don't matter while we're in here. So I look at it like that, man. It's like, and that's why I would never, you know, not take a picture. I would never not sign an autograph. You know, I would never not respond to somebody that hits me on social media because I just think it's important, man. It's like, because I don't put people on pedestals. I look at fans, artists, crew. Matter of fact, I spend more time with the crew than anybody because I feel like you guys work harder than any of us. Your first one's here, last one to leave. So
that is the truth.
Yeah.
Props to the crew always.
Always.
And it's a beautiful thing though. Music. I mean, it's just universal. You can go anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And you're gonna find music, and you're gonna find some of the same music.
Right.
Just everywhere. You know, it always blows me away when you go to a different country and people are singing your songs or the songs that you played on or the song that you're just up there jamming, or even if you're a fan of a song and they're vibing with you, and it's an amazing feeling.
Absolutely, man.
And some people want to take it out of schools. What? Music education, man. Now I'm an advocate for that.
Absolutely. Do you realize how much different the world was before they took music out and before they took like prayers out of school and, you know, that kind of stuff? And like, to me, it's like there was a little more foundation. You know what I mean? It's like, because now it's just like you have kids that are bored. You know, it's like, what do we do now? It's like, okay, most kids will play basketball after school or whatever, but maybe you're not the athletic kid. Maybe you're the nerd. So
hey, I tell you what, music kept me out of a lot of trouble. And I started doing it very young. And if I didn't have that, I thank my family for helping me and supporting me and all of that always. But if I didn't have that, I'd be in a lot more trouble than I ever got into.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think I would have been good either way, just because I had parents that were like literally growing up, I was scared of them. I wasn't scared of the police. I mean, for real, because I'm like, okay, if I do this, I'm going to get dealt with by multiple people when I get home. So I don't want that rap. So I'm gonna be good.
Yeah.
Hey,
so you know, having a good support system and good parenting is key as well.
Absolutely.
So let's see, what do you think you learned from that very first gig? Actually, from that very first Sheila E audition to now in all of your career, how do you think it helped you move forward from that very first one? Is there anything in particular aside from all the stuff? I mean, you've been throwing out some awesome advice and life lessons, but was there one thing in particular that from that first day to now that you've learned and maybe that you've changed, or how you've changed your approach a little bit?
Well, I honestly think that being different is so special, because one thing that I noticed even at the audition, it's almost like, it was like somebody said going in there, like, she wants somebody that's going to go for blood. So you better do that. So everybody literally went for blood.
Right.
So if I go in there going for blood, what's going to make me stand out? She's been hearing that all day. You know what I mean? So so to me, you got to have a thumbprint. And so, and what I mean by that, think about it. As soon as you hear a song, you know it's Marcus Miller. And if it's not Marcus, you know somebody trying to sound like Marcus. Right. So I think that kind of thing is like, you know, and I think Daryl Landers from the bottom of my heart, man, because he's one of the people that helped me develop a sound, you know, because early on I didn't realize how important it was. You know, so like, yo, man, you gotta learn how to slice through a PA. So cut some of those lows on stage, because you know, being a young musician, you're thinking like, okay, I got 2 410 cameras behind me. How's this going to compete with this big PA in this arena? You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're like, man, you'll be surprised, because when you hit a low note, like even if they turn the PA off, you hit a low note and you hear that same note 3 seconds later.
Yes.
You know, so like, cut them lows down, cut your bass down on stage, let them cut you up in the house, that kind of stuff. And just like, okay, less is more. Period. Less is more. And I think the older that I've gotten, I've adapted that even more. So like, man, make sure that your tone is killing, and whatever you play, make sure that they're going to hear it.
Yeah.
I try to make every note count.
So
like
important.
every note. Nothing excessive. Like, you're never going to hear me play and think like, wow, that was a bit much. Nah. Nope. It's more important for somebody to leave saying like, yo, the band was super tight, as opposed to somebody like, yo, man, you were killing.
Right.
Because that's going to make me feel like I overplayed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like team sports when you're working in a band situation.
So you're into basketball?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember when the Lakers had Shaq, Kobe, Derek Fisher, Rick Fox, and Robert Horry?
Yeah.
Remember they went up against the Detroit Pistons with no All-Stars on paper, with Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, and literally they should have got swept. But the Lakers won one game because Robert Horry hit that lucky shot at the buzzer. But what that showed me is like, wow, you have a team over here full of All-Stars that are playing iso ball, but then you got Detroit Pistons come in playing a team like, okay, we're going to shut Kobe down. We're gonna guard him straight up, and we're gonna let somebody, Shaq is going to get his, but nobody else will beat us.
Right.
I think the band is the same thing. It's like, yo, man, and that's why you have people like the Roots. Like I went to a show. That's the only show that I can recall in my whole life that had me on my feet from first song to the last.
Okay.
Literally, and I wasn't familiar with any of their music because I went there to see my friend who was playing with Outkast.
Oh, okay.
But the Roots was on that show, and like, man, I was just like, it had me speechless like I am now. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, these dudes are killing, man. So yeah, that's how I want to approach music. And like, when I'm no longer doing it, that's how I want to be remembered. Like, yo, man, his feel was crazy. So
that's important, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about gear. What are you playing? What's your go-to bass?
Man, I have a Marco 5-string that's like, that thing cuts through a PA like crazy. So I have a few basses that I love. So my old Lakeland, I have a very old Lakeland that I got in like 96.
Okay.
Still killing.
5?
But then it's 5. But like probably my favorite bass that I own is my 66 Jazz.
Woo! Do you take that out with you?
It depends on what I'm doing. Like I've taken it with Layla because I'm carrying it myself.
Okay.
But on big tours, never.
Got it.
Just because I've literally seen someone's vintage Les Paul get the whole headstock snapped off because it dropped, and so you can't repair that.
Right.
So I have a 66 and a 78 that are both killing. So I use those on a lot of sessions, but I don't really take them out as much, unless, like I said, if I'm carrying it on my back.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the pop gigs, like a Janet, for instance, I can't take it even if I'm carrying it because that song, a lot of those songs were done on key bass,
right?
And so I need a B string. So even if I wanted to switch, like once we start the show, we're playing like 7 songs in a row before we get any breaks, so I don't have time to switch. So
okay. So when you're a lot of the music that you're doing, you are actually playing key bass lines, right?
Right.
Are you actually playing key bass a lot of the times, or are you just mimicking the line with the?
Well, I do both. Like I would say on Janet, it's about, I would say like 45% key bass, 55% bass.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, a lot of that stuff, like Pleasure Principle, man, I would have Carpetano trying to play that on bass. You know what I mean? It's moving so much, so I'm just like, gotta play key bass on that.
Are there instances where you have to sort of adapt the two, kind of if they don't have, you playing key bass, where you're handling the line?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Definitely.
Is there anything you want to add to how you approach that, or is?
I mean, I really think that it depends on the song and the kind of patch that was used on the key bass because if it's like really subby, it's kind of hard to translate that on bass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's definitely songs that were done on key bass, like even like Anytime, Any Place. You know, that's pretty much done on key bass, but I'm able to get around on that on bass. And like even if it's like something kind of subby, I can just cut some of the highs and roll off some of the high mid, that kind of thing. So I mean, it really just depends on the song because I prefer to play bass the whole show. If I had it my way, I would never play key bass. But
me too.
Right. Yep.
I like the bass. We are bass freaks, I would say.
Yeah, love it.
What about amps?
Man, dig. So I haven't used an amp on tour in years.
Really? Just direct?
Yeah, because what happens is, with pop, creative directors and choreographers, they're just like, we like a clean stage. We don't like all the stuff. So what happens is I use the pleasure board by Tech Amp, which is pretty much a sub, like a platform that I stand on that gives me, the lows or whatever I feel in my feet.
I haven't heard of that. Okay.
Oh man, you got to get hip, bro. Like real talk, it changed my life. And so what we don't realize as bass players, a lot of times we play loud, not even so much to hear it, but to feel it.
Feel it, exactly.
So, but when you're using in-ears, especially if you have a really good monitor engineer that can make your bass sound and feel how you want it in your ears, and then he gives it to you in your feet too, ridiculous. So
I have to check that out.
Yeah, but when I'm home, do I have a low-fat rig?
Low fat?
Are you hip to those?
No.
Man, this cat in LA, Paul Tidwell, builds them. So I have a cabinet that has a 212, a mid-range, and a tweeter, and it's a tube head that's designed by Demeter. Oh, man, nice. Listen, killing. Huh. Like it's absolutely killing, man.
What is it about it that give me a little bit more on it? Okay,
super articulate, right? Okay. I mean, it's like I can make it smooth jazz or Ampeg.
Nice.
It's
versatile.
You can literally color that thing. Cause see, that's my problem with a lot of amps. Like some amps sound too hi-fi, it's like just sounds too like crystal clean. That's cool if you can get that. But what if I'm doing a gig where I got to play my P bass with flat wounds on it and I just wanted something that's dirty. I wanted to be able to do that as well. So there's a presence knob on it that, and there's a tube volume. So, I mean, that thing is just like really versatile to me, But before that, the last amp that I used on tour was Tech Amp. No, what am I saying? TC Electronic. Tech Amp is the pleasure board. But I had a TC Electronic rig with at the blacksmith head, 2 410 cabinets. And I learned my way around that thing and I was killing. But for my, I think that they went out of business though, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of their bass department.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but the low fat stuff is what I use primarily.
Very cool. That sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah. No, look them up. LOPHAT.
Okay. I'm going to actually write that down. Very cool. What about strings?
Dunlop, man.
Me too. Cheers
Super
to that.
brights.
Cheers
Super brights.
Right on.
And what's funny is I don't have a preference between the nickels or the stainless. I mean, I like them both.
I think I do too. I enjoy the stainless, but I like them both.
Yeah. Now do you like more of the bright stuff or no?
I am using the super brights.
Okay.
So and I can you can get them to sound how you need them to sound, but they feel great to me. So
yeah, and I change my strings a lot though. My strings have to be fresh. Like literally my tech. After every show or after every other show?
We do every show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
So Daryl, don't you dare talk about I order too much strings.
Daryl.
No, Daryl's great, man. He always accommodates. No, I'm just messing with him.
They're all awesome over there, especially Daryl. You have one piece of gear that inspires you the most?
My 66, probably.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, that thing just speaks. Like literally, no matter what I'm playing, it's like It's crazy.
Well, not only do you have the tone, but you got the history in your hands. You know?
Yeah. So how about this? So my cousin, his dad bought him that bass in '66.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's the original owner, and his dad passed, years ago. Rest in peace. And so Duro started playing 5-string. So literally, this bass was just in his closet for like probably 20 years. And so I'm like, Duro, man, let me put some use to that thing. He's like, man, I can't, man. It's sentimental. It's the first bass my dad ever got me. But I promised him that I would never sell it. And so I was able to talk him out of it. I gave him some stuff for it. I gave him like a nice rig and some stuff. So I'm like, bro, it's just sitting in the closet. If you ever want to play it, let me know. I'll get it to you. But and people have offered me a lot of money for that bass.
Oh, I'm sure.
Somebody was like, man,
do you have it with you? Can I see it?
Yep. Hold on.
Let me see that thing. Can you describe it just a little bit?
Okay. Well, this bass had already been kind of modified. So the original pickups weren't in here, but I put Aguilar 70s wound.
Okay.
With a Sadowski Pre.
Ooh. That is pretty. That is pretty.
Man, and it's the original color. They didn't make that many of these. It's a ruby or brown.
Oh.
Yep. And see, it's like the back isn't molested or anything. So, but there's a preamp under the pick guard.
Very cool, man.
But hey, man, like every time I play this thing, cats are like, dude, what? How's your bass sound like that, man? Is it your amp? Is it? I know it has to do something with your fingers too, man. But your tone is good. Like I get more compliments on my tone than anything. Like people talk more about my sound than my playing.
I think they go hand in hand, but that's awesome.
Yeah, but again, people like Duro, man, it's like it's important.
For sure. All right. Hang on one sec. Oh, is there a riff that you would recommend bass players to learn? If there was one riff, what do you think they should play? And just play it over and over and over again.
One riff. Oh, wow.
I know it's a broad, hard question, but
like, is there something that everybody should know?
Yeah, like a line.
I think "Do I Do" maybe Stevie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Especially like if you're someone that gets called for like those corporate parties, because that stuff, man, you got to know Stevie, you got to know, just the whole Motown era in general. You know what I mean? So I think
that learning that tune is going to help them as a bass player. Development, practicing, phrasing, all of that.
Absolutely. And then in terms of like, if you can learn a song like, just say, "What's Going On," Marvin Gaye. If you can learn that verbatim, hey man, he's playing. And to actually have that session,
you have it. Oh, you got to send that to me.
Easy.
That would be awesome.
Hey man, I have that session, bro. Like to listen to Jamerson, like isolated. And what's funny is like, I think as bass players now, we feel like, just learning how to play perfect. But Jamerson wasn't perfect at all.
That's what gave him his identity, though. It was like, I have tried to mimic some of those lines verbatim.
Right.
And it's too pretty. It's too perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got to try to split your brain. It's like, okay, not saying that he was sloppy because he wasn't.
No.
But it just wasn't perfect. But that's where his pocket was. And so, and he's one of the most recognized bass players ever. It's like, he's the reason behind a lot of that Motown sound. So
you prefer Jamerson or Jocko?
You know what? I don't really have a preference. I think that music is like a big language that we all just speak differently. You know what I mean? So like I would never be that guy that gets into like, oh, he's better or that person's better. I think
I'm just trying to get you in trouble, man. Yeah.
No, but the fact that you can even make that statement just says that they're both great.
Absolutely.
But I think with Jocko, like, okay, let me ask you a question. All right, so if Jocko didn't play any chops would you still think he's as great? Take away any chop that he's ever played. Like take away Donnelly, take away Team Town. You know, if you had
okay, I would only due to the fact that I have seen and heard him just groove, but more importantly, it's recognizable. Mm-hmm. Each note that he's playing is identifiable. You know, that's Jocko.
Exactly.
So I think that's part of what makes him great, aside from all of the amazing chops.
But you do know at the same time though that bass players that try to transcribe him only transcribe his chops.
Ah, yeah.
They don't go to the stuff that you're talking about.
Right.
And I think that's just as important. Like yo, if you're gonna get the dessert, get the meat and potatoes too.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You know, so I think Jocko was absolutely amazing. You know, but when Marcus Miller played Teen Town, I enjoyed that just as much, and I enjoyed it because he made it his.
Right.
You know, so
those are good answers and good points, man. Dude, I appreciate you so much for hanging. You have your own band too, right?
Yes, man. My band is Legally Blind, spelled BLYND, with my brother, who's our guitar player, lead singer, and has written like 99.99.99% of the songs. Chris Johnson is our drummer. Me and Chris have done Rihanna together, Maya, Mary. You know, we've worked together a lot. But he also plays with Lady Gaga. And
cool.
And then our guitar player Earl, another like really close friend of mine, like my brother. He plays with Stevie Wonder. He does Janet with me.
Oh, cool.
That guitar player. And Carl Wheeler, our organist, he does, you know, Frankie Beverly and Maze. He's responsible for the sound of Tony.
Ah.
Like he wrote a lot of that stuff, you know.
Wow.
So literally it's like an all-star band.
Very cool. You know, is it out? Can people get it?
Yeah. Matter of fact, our last project is called You, like YOU. And that's on iTunes. That's CD Baby.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can definitely find that music, but we're definitely due for a new project because it's kind of old at this point. But
I can't wait to hear what you guys do. What about social media? Where can people find you?
Everything is Pik Funk, PIKFUNK.
That's what I was going to ask you. Sorry to interrupt once again. Why do people call you that?
Because I used to play with a pick. I was playing funk music with a pick. Like when most people was doing this,
yeah,
I had the pick, and it's a whole different vibe. And so somebody just started calling me that. Like I didn't start calling myself. It was like Pik Funk. I was like, that kind of has a ring to it. I was like, yo, bro, because you don't went out around here playing funk with a pick.
Nice.
So
I kind of figured that, but then I didn't want to assume.
Right. So like growing up playing quartet music. So I'm sure you probably heard of the Mighty Clouds of Joy.
No, actually.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure you've heard them at some point in your life. You know, I mean, if you've heard gospel at all, Mighty Clouds of Joy were like the staple for quartet music. So their bass player, Richard Wallace, he played with a thumb pick. And so there was this one song that it's like he literally hit the D string 3 times in a row, like open D, like, but he's playing a line on top of it, like, but it's like boom, 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 while he's doing and it was this whole thing. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And so
just like, for the people that can't watch it, explain what you're doing right now with your hand.
Okay, it's like it's down with the thumb, up with the index. The entire groove is like, you know, is so first I'm trying to play it like this, but like with the 1-2 finger, but doing that is hard to let the D string ring. You know what I mean? So I was just like trying to figure out how did he do it? So I just started going down with the pick and just letting that D ring, but all the fancy stuff was on the G string. And so then I was like, okay, let me try to figure out some other bass lines. So like even what was something else I learned how to play with the pick. So just say like what is hip?
Oh, Rocco.
Yeah, so I learned that with the pick. So instead of doing it, so like everything was with the pick, and so it sounded like really staccato. Yeah. But at the same time, I was cheating. You know what I mean? Definitely cheating.
But did it sound good? Did it feel good?
Absolutely.
Okay. Good.
You know, I mean, people just like you learned it verbatim. So
yeah, who is it? Bobby Vega that rocks a pick, funk stuff with the pick. Yeah, he's another Bay Area guy, right?
Yep, and is an absolute monster. Yeah. By the way, yeah, that his technique is out of here though. Like, yeah, like if you watch the way he approaches, like it's really really ridiculous. Yeah, he's a bad dude.
Yeah, he is, man. Dude, thank you so much again.
Thank you, man.
You and I get to hang and at some point play some bass together, whatever. Just drink some coffee, all that.
Man, you are not about to make me retire. You know, like, man, this kid, I know about you, suicidal Tennessee guy.
Oh, cheers, man. Cheers.
I know it. No, monster in your own right, man. So I'm honored to meet you and talk to you and hang, man. It's great.
The honor is all mine, man. I appreciate you. That is our show for today. Thank you for joining us. Stay healthy and kind. Spread love, good vibes, and inspiration. And remember, you got this. Follow your path and just play. I'm Josh Paul. I hope to see you all out there sometime soon. And thank you to Dunlop again for making the show possible. And be sure to check out Bass Freaks wherever you get your podcasts.